Hallowed be thy name. My Lord, Krishna, the personality of Godhead, let your holy name be glorified. This is our movement. It is not a sectarian, it is very scientific movement. Scientific movement because at the present moment we are all godless, forgotten what is God and what to speak of His name. They do not believe in God and what to speak of His name, fame, His place, His activities, His form, His quality. How we can know? There is no educational system about the science of God. This movement, Krishna consciousness movement, is teaching the science of God. God is absolute.
Hare Krishna. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all of you on day 24 of Srila Prabhupada Leela, That's Impossible. Srila Prabhupada explained, it is very important to drive away two specific kinds of ignorance that has engulfed modern society. One is consciousness comes from matter. Another thing is life is finished as soon as the body is dead. So consciousness is not eternal. It is byproduct of matter. And once the body is finished, there is no life. So such kind of people who are absorbed in such nescience, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Although everybody is interested in taking care of their own self, but they do not know how to take care of themselves. So the very beautiful shloka is, so Srila Prabhupada describes various shlokas in every class. Prabhupada's classes are very authentic, backed by shlokas from various scriptures. especially Srimad Bhagavatam. But first time I heard Prabhupada singing some shlokas. So Prabhupada was speaking to John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono, one of the Beatles, when Prabhupada went to London to stay in their place. Because they were musicians, so Prabhupada sang, oh Bhagavatam, this is also song, it can be sung. So Prabhupada sang very nicely. And one of those shlokas which Prabhupada sang is, it is very, very important. So we are all, those of you who are attending the session, those who are not attending, everybody. The purpose for which everybody is working is only one, and that is self-interest. What's in it for me? But it is told a materialist does not know where lies one's real self-interest. Na te vedu swartha gatim he Vishnu durashayaye bahirarthamaninaha. A materialist does not know that one's real self-interest lies in Lord Vishnu. And durashaya, he has got false hope, hope against hope. Everyone sees that I am not yet happy, but still he thinks I will be happy after some time, after some arrangement. This is called durashaya, false hope which shall never be fulfilled. Bahirarthamaninaha. And such a materialist gives lot of value to the external appearance of his self, external reality, this temporary dress, machine, which we call body. And satisfaction of the body is taken as a prime thing in life. Nate vidu swartha gatim, but they do not know the real self-interest lies in satisfaction of Vishnu. Then what happens to them? Andha yathandhair upaniyamana te pisha tantriyam urudamani baddha. So situation is, we are blind. Either we want knowledge of spiritual affairs or of material affairs. A layman is blind. Layman has to follow the leaders of society. Now we do not know how to cure COVID. There are various reports. Some people are telling this vaccine is very nice, it will work. And then people tell it will not work, it is creating so many hazards. And some people are telling people are dying because of vaccine. Now who knows what is true? So many theories are there. Like this, there are competing theories in every field. So a layman has to follow the leaders. Just like a blind man cannot cross the road on its own but has to follow another person. That is the only way a blind man can safely cross the road. Otherwise, it is very risky. He would be run over by a car or a truck or any vehicle and would be dead. But if the blind person takes the help of another man who is also blind, nothing can be more calamitous than that. And that is the situation of materialist. Here the society, general people are anyway so naive. They do not know what is absolute truth. But the leaders of the society are also blind, equally blind. Andha yathandhair upaniyamana. It is like a blind being led by another blind. That is the material civilization. Leaders are blind, followers are also blind. Te pishe tantryam urudamani baddha. Then what happens? We are having some restrictions. Just like there was a restriction on traveling speed. So people thought, let us have automobiles, fast carriages, and then we will break away from the shackle of slow motion. And now that we have advanced technology, we have bullet trains and other things, have people become happy? No. More strict conditions are being put by nature. Now you cannot leave your house, cannot go outside. Or you have to spend your time traveling only. 3 hours every day you have to travel. You'll be forced to remain in that vehicle. So, urudamani baddha. We are endeavoring to come out of the strict clutches of the laws of nature, but these stringent laws are binding us all the more. So this is the situation. We want to come out of the knots of the strict laws of nature, but we get more and more entangled because our leaders are also blind. A materialist person is blind. So thus, the pastimes of the devotees, or those who follow the devotees, like this specific pastime we are seeing, how devotees are working very, very hard. So in the material field, if somebody works hard, then they become exhausted and tired. And they tell, oh, there is so much of pressure. We keep on meeting people and they tell how much of this rat race we have to run. So we thought there should be something else in life. So for some time, a person can tolerate the hard work, but that also if they are getting the result. Primarily, the result is money, 95%. And balance, some of them they want power, and some of them they want knowledge also, but they are after the results. Karmi, Jnani, Yogi, either you want resources, or you want some knowledge, or you want power. Suppose that work does not give you power, no credits for the activity, no position in society, or that work does not give you knowledge, research work, you get baffled in your research, or you do not get money out of activity, then that will not keep us happy. So a materialist can be happy only when the result is there. But here we can see, thus these pastimes are so important. We can see it is not that you are after the results, but spiritual activity itself is enjoyable and the result is also enjoyable. That is called absolute truth. Now we work very hard, do something against our wish so that something we'll get which is pleasant for ourselves. So now you take discomfort. You have to work hard and toil, and they have such theories. But spiritual life is not like that. Spiritual life endeavor is enjoyable and the result is enjoyable. That is called absolute truth. It is of same nature. There's no duality. So thus we saw here how devotees worked so hard, 16 hours on the field they are, and like this entire day they are doing. Are they tired? Are they telling, oh, this company makes me work 16 hours, I want to switch it over? No, they tell, we just want to continue. This is the thing we want to do in life. So if I'm eating food, I'm not able to digest. I don't get any taste and I puke it out, everything. But we see some people are finding it very nice. They are spending money to go and eat. So eating activity is not bad. I should figure out what is wrong with me. In a similar fashion, we see the great kings. They gave up everything in the Vedic culture and they would go to renounce and they would engage in service of Krishna. What is that pleasure that is making them renounce all these worldly comforts? Of course, I will get pained if I renounce in such a manner. That is a dreadful thing for most of the people. But then I should think, what is wrong with me? If I can be very happy without any of these things for which everybody is working so hard, is it not a simple way to do that? Somebody is telling, simply by chanting the names of Krishna and serving Krishna, that is free to do. You don't need any degrees for it. You don't need any backup or any special training for that. And that can give you unlimited pleasure. So why not go for it? And some people are actually having it. So thus these pastimes are a great hope for the entire civilization. How a way of life is possible where the work itself is the source of pleasure and the result is anyway pleasurable. So let us continue these wonderful pastimes of book distribution from yesterday. In the summer of 1973, the devotees found that at concerts they could distribute hundreds of Krishna books in few hours. The Krishna book, available now as paperback trilogy with George Harrison's foreword, that was very, very attractive to the youngsters. George Harrison not just sponsored, he wrote also. If you have Krishna book, if you do not have, you can please order it. George Harrison has written the foreword of the book, and that was very, very appealing to the younger generation especially. So they would go to the concerts and they were able to distribute hundreds of literatures. So earlier, anybody who's making even 2-3 Krishna books distributed, he was a hero distributor. Then they were able to scale it up, and the entire temple put together were able to touch somewhere 70-80. But here, concerts, they were able to have hundreds of books distributed. So in one concert, devotees had distributed 600 books in 2 hours. The devotees in Los Angeles decided that Tripurari and few other leading Sankirtan men should travel from temple to temple and share their experience. Those who had become expert in distributing, so they were decided by some senior leaders of the movement. You go to every temple and teach the devotees this art, how to do it. Rameshwar wrote to Prabhupada, "This is the mercy of Sri Sri Rukmani Dwarkadhish." So those are the deities of Los Angeles temple. That we can send out so many devotees to other centers. It is a real opulence of New Dwarka. Los Angeles, Prabhupada gave name New Dwarka, just like Jagannath Puri is, San Francisco is New Jagannath Puri. Srila Prabhupada replied on August 3, "There is no doubt about it. To distribute books is our most important activity. The temple is a place not for eating and sleeping, as many people think, that the devotees do some puja sometimes and then eating and sleeping may happen. But the temple is a place not for eating and sleeping, but as a base from which we send out soldiers to fight with Maya. Fight with Maya means to drop thousands and millions of books into the laps of the conditioned souls. Just like during the wartime, the bombs are raining from the sky like anything. So, the spiritual life should be taken in a spirit of war. So, we all are willing to compete. So, this competitive spirit is very good. It drives a person, but it should be used to fight the real challenge. The real challenge is to stop one's birth, death, old age, disease, to come out of this hallucination and perceive reality. For this, rigorous hard work is required under the personal coaching, guidance, training of a spiritual master. So, thus, it is a war, and a person has to be very, very careful. So, sometimes spiritual life people are not at all, they take it very casually. Sometimes we read some book, sometimes we read another book, sometimes we hear from here, sometimes we hear from there, sometimes we follow some rules, sometimes we don't follow. But it is told, Shurasya Dharya. It is like walking on razor's edge. Razor is very sharp. We are shaving little inattention and there is blood. Now razors are good, especially when it was just like single-bladed razor. It was very dangerous. So scriptures compare spiritual life like walking on razor's edge. A person should be very, very careful. Little inattention and then there is blood. Turnam yatet na patet anumrityu yavan. So a person should have great haste. Death can happen anytime. Before death, I should finish this business. I should perfect my spiritual life. So just like in war, if a person is casual in training, he goes, learns some shooting from one person, then how to drop some bombs from another person, learn something about strategy from somewhere, whenever, not very particular in training himself, then such a person would be killed. Just like a person gets trained, so army discipline is the topmost discipline. So in a similar fashion, in spiritual life, a person needs to get trained. Just like in army, there is a strict discipline. You have to follow whatever your authority says. Everything has to be strictly under the proper guidance. In a similar fashion, spiritual life should be executed. Then a person will become successful in spiritual life. So spiritual life is a war. Just like as soon as you declare a war, enemy might be always alert, but when you declare war, enemy becomes more alert and is willing to kill you. In a similar fashion, when we begin our spiritual life, it's declaration of war against Maya. Maya's work is to keep us all in illusion, so she will try her level best to again pull us down in illusion. So a person has to take guidance from experienced fighters, work under the direction of general, the spiritual master, and the immediate commanders, and be very, very careful throughout the day. And just like in war, the parties are dropping bombs on the other sides. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada explains, the temple is not a place for eating and sleeping, but as a base, just like army has a base from which they attack and launch bombs. In a similar fashion, temple is a base from which we send out our soldiers to fight with Maya. Fight with Maya means to drop thousands and millions of books into the laps of the conditioned souls. So these books are bombs. They destroy a person's ignorance and they liberate him from clutches of Maya. So this was Prabhupada's mood in establishing so many centers or temples. It is a base from which soldiers go out and they drop these books which act like bombs. Just like during the wartime, the bombs are raining from the sky like anything. I also like your program of sending out your best men to teach others. That is actual progress of Krishna consciousness. To train others, continue this program so that in future, every devotee in our movement will know the art of distributing books. This is approved by me. So this is Prabhupada's desire that every devotee in the movement should know the art of distributing these books. Sura recollects, Vaisheshika was selling books in the airport with me. So now how devotees were able to do this? If somebody gives us 600 pieces of such thick literature about which people have no idea and they don't belong to that faith even, why they would buy it? So what's special? Just like there are so many people, they give fired up speeches about sales tactics, so many other motivators and so many other methodologies they have created. How to understand the psychology of the person, what you should speak, when you should speak. You should write it down, not just speak, so that proper attention is captured, and so many other things they devise to sell their products. So, which devices and techniques were devotees using to do this thing? Let us try to analyze. Vaisheshika was selling books in the airport with me. He would walk up to the people and say, "Well, how are you doing, sir? All glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana movement, the prime benediction for humanity at large, which cleanses the heart." So, what is this? Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, Shikshashtakam, the 8 prayers which Lord Chaitanya gave, translation of those prayers. So, this devotee approaches a new person, "How you are doing, sir?" and starts reciting the translation of Shikshashtakam prayers. He was repeating the Shikshashtaka prayers of Lord Chaitanya right out of the book, and yet he was selling books. The books had pictures of Krishna and devotional scenes on the cover, and sometimes some devotees couldn't understand how people could relate to these books, but Prabhupada wanted them distributed, and he was saying that we should preach on the merit of the book. So sometimes devotees were telling some lies that this book will give you that thing, other thing, you'll become rich, and all such things. But Prabhupada told, I never spoke lies to sell these books. These books are sold on their merit. They have so much stuff. So thus the devotees would simply open the book and recite the shlokas which are mentioned over there. And they themselves are wondering why people are taking. How they are able to relate. They are seeing a man Krishna who is playing flute. There is a boy and girl, Radha and Krishna. Who are these people? So they don't have any idea what are these pictures about. They don't have any idea of these shlokas, but still they would take it. And he was saying that we should preach on the merit of the book. When a devotee asked Prabhupada what we should say to distribute the books, Prabhupada replied, Krishna Swadhamopagate, which is the verse that says that Srimad Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just to give people religion in this age of darkness. So we were also repeating that verse and distributing books on faith. So Prabhupada has told you, speak this verse, and devotees are speaking. They had so much faith in their spiritual master. So this is the secret. They may not realize the verse, but this verse is there. Krishna Swadhamo Upagate Dharma Jnana Divisaha. Krishna has gone back to his own abode along with religion and morality. So who will give people of Kali Yuga the true knowledge? So the Srimad Bhagavatam book will give. So this is what they were telling and people were taking. We would go out and see people actually becoming struck by Krishna consciousness. So why people were taking? They would see that the devotees were very sincere and serious, and they would become impressed. Daily on Sankirtan, so just like it is one devotee's personal experience, he was telling, when he joined as a new devotee in Bangalore temples. In Bangalore, if you have visited, there is Gita counter, book counter where you have books of all the languages. Once you have darshan in the temple, then the way you are escorted out, you have to pass through that counter. And then he was a new devotee, and people would come, and those times when we had joined, there were CDs. Still, people would listen to CDs. So people would come there and they would ask that there are so many of them, which album should I take? So this devotee would give a special album of Brahma Samhita. And because he had heard it and it was so nice and melodious, some Western devotee had sung, it was so nice. And he would explain in such a manner that everybody would take it. Whosoever comes to him for album or even for books, sometimes he would propose that album and that would be taken. And it so happened that after many months, he listened to that again. And then he discovered actually it was a big mistake. That CD was something else. Although it was Brahma Samhita, it was some different track. And that was not very melodious. So he thought that because of his conviction, he was explaining in such a way that people were getting impressed. Oh, this thing should be very nice, and they were taking it. So thus, actually, it is not whenever we are preaching, explaining to somebody, it is not exactly our intellectual knowledge that we transfer. It is our conviction that we transfer. We should be thoroughly convinced. If we are convinced, other person will get that feeling, and they will sense it, and they will take the product. So thus, when devotees would present the books, because they were thoroughly convinced of it, so other people thought, okay, let me take it. He's telling with such a strong emphasis. So daily on Sankirtan, we would see people appreciating Prabhupada's books. There was also harassment, but Prabhupada had talked about it. that there was always difficulty. So everything was there from Prabhupada to confirm whatever realizations we had. Srila Prabhupada said a book salesman would sometimes have difficulty because he'll be sometimes accepted and sometimes rejected, but he tolerates. In the airport, we meet professors, lawyers, all kinds of people who would stop and talk. They would challenge, and we would constantly have to defend Prabhupada's books and his movement and speak up on behalf of Prabhupada, more so than when we were just kids out on the parking lots talking to women and begging 50 cents for a pack of incense. So they were all very young. We were presenting Prabhupada's books to the scholars, coming into contact with Mayavadis, scientists, businessmen, people who were very sharp in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and San Diego. People there were very sharp and hard, and just by having to spiritually combat them and defend the movement, we became more mature in our understanding of Prabhupada's books and how to present them in such a way that we could convince even people who did not want to be convinced. We had to study Prabhupada books. So thus the devotees ask how to become a good preacher. So we become good preacher by preaching. We become good swimmer by swimming. So when we go out, we meet people, they will have some doubt and that will confuse us. And then we'll try to understand the answer. We'll revisit the books, ask the devotees, then we become strong. Next time we'll be able to answer. So like this, the more we are out, we distribute especially the books, then people would ask direct questions about it and we become very, very strong preachers by such an activity. There is no better way of direct preaching than distribution of books. Book distribution took another great stride forward when Tamal Krishna Goswami, Srila Prabhupada's zonal secretary in India, for 4 years returned to the US, joining with his friend Vishnu Jan Swami. He hailed from the Radha Damodar Sankirtan party, traveling in a bus with Radha Krishna deities to distribute books and hold festivals all over the US. So these brahmacharis, they would not stay in any temple. Can you imagine? You are just living in a bus. You are sleeping in a bus. Your deities are in bus. You cook in the bus, eat in the bus. Everything is around the bus. At night, you stop the bus somewhere and you sleep inside, and then again you are traveling. Or if you come across some local temples on the way, then you can sleep in the temples as well. Otherwise, many times you sleep in the bus, and this is how the devotees would manage. So just continuously, overnight if you travel, if you stay in some temple, again entire day you are traveling. Like this for months they would keep on traveling. So all across the US in this way, several buses were going, and entire day the business was distributing the books. Srila Prabhupada showed special interest in the Radha Damodar party and approved loans from the BBT for the purchase of more buses, thus creating a Sankirtan army traveling in renovated Greyhound buses. By the end of 1974, the Radha Damodar party had 3 buses, vans, and numerous men. Prabhupada called the buses moving temples, and he urged the Radha Damodar devotees to continue their program with certainty that they were pleasing Lord Chaitanya. I am glad that you have understood the importance of my books, Prabhupada wrote. Therefore, I am stressing it so much. Let everyone take these books. Srila Prabhupada encouraged the Radha Damodar party to expand to hundreds of buses. They are having 3 now. Prabhupada is telling expand to hundreds, and thus fulfill the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bring Krishna consciousness to every town and village. When a tight transcendental competition arose between the Los Angeles Temple, Tripurari's BBT party, and the Radha Damodar party, Prabhupada watched and approved it with pleasure. So thus it is very, very important to have competition also in spiritual life. So this competition gives us life. Just imagine a life without any competition. So it would be very, very dull. Especially people like us who are very passionate now in this age. We all want to be competitive. And one topper of examinations, he has taught many examinations. Now he's telling, I am very uncomfortable. I feel very bored because there is no exam to crack now. I've cracked all of them. So we always want to compete. But material competition burns our heart and creates a lot of anxiety. But the same competition in spiritual life does not produce envy, but appreciation for the other devotees. Oh, they have done so nice. Krishna is so blessed. They are so blessed. Krishna is very merciful on them. So when will I get such blessings and empowerment from Krishna? Let me try to work even harder to attain the mercy and empowerment from Krishna. So thus the devotees appreciate a person does good, and being inspired, they want to render a better service and they want to work even harder. So such competition pleases Krishna and pleases the devotees who are competing. So the same things which are there in material life which degrade us. So we have discussed many times. Ya nisha sarva bhutani tasyam jagrati sanyami. The same thing which is good for materialist is very harmful for devotional service. So in spiritual affair, this thing is very, very good. But in material affair, it is very, very bad. Hearing of the pastimes of man and woman in material world, very bad. They are entangling, but on spiritual world, they are very good. They are liberating. So this is the difference between if we eat food which is not offered, agham papam, third chapter it is mentioned. It involves so many sinful activities, but the same food we eat which is offered to Krishna, it finishes our sinful activities. Attachment to materialist degrades us. Attachment to spiritualist liberates us. Same activity. So it is not that we have to stop activities. We have to have same fierce competitive spirit, but in spiritual life. So just like in material life, if a person is not competitive, he cannot attain anything materially. So thus in a spiritual life also, if we are not having such competitive thing, then spiritual life is also stagnant and very dull. So thus Prabhupada told to the leaders, it is a responsibility always create competition for the disciples. In this way, they will be able to advance. So material competition stresses us out. As soon as exams are over, we enjoy like anything. But spiritual competition, it enthuses us all the more, and devotee just wants to participate more and more in such competitions. So there were three main parties doing book distribution. One was this traveling Sankirtan party in the books. Another was the Los Angeles Temple book distribution team. And third was Tripurari's BBT party. So Tripurari Swami was such an expert book distributor. Prabhupada was so pleased with him. Usually there are many levels of authorities. You have to follow your immediate devotee, and then they have to follow their authority. They will follow somebody else, and they will follow temple president, the head of the center. They would follow the governing body representative. They would follow the GBC body. They would follow Prabhupada. But Tripurari Swami Prabhupada told, let him report directly to me. He need not report to any of the GBCs also. Nobody. Prabhupada was so pleased. He can report directly to me. I am very much pleased by seva. Such an opportunity was not offered to anybody. So then he was leading another party of his team. So these were the three main teams who were having rigorous competition between them. Another party forming in 1974 was the BBT Library Party. It began with Hridayanand Goswami sending some brahmacharis from his traveling party to sell books at prestigious universities in New England. And then in 1974, it became the BBT Library Party, backed up by a professionally organized sales office in Los Angeles. So they had sales office also in Los Angeles and entire America, everything. And then eventually into other countries, Europe they covered, India they covered. So all the things can be used very nicely for Krishna consciousness. So especially if the intelligent people, the students who are in the mood of learning, they are able to pick up Krishna consciousness, their future is very bright. Their habits are not very bad. They are not very much degraded. They are still learning. So if they can pick up in this young age, they can be great asset. And they can spread Krishna consciousness like anything. So Prabhupada was telling, please put all these books in all the libraries of the world. So thus another party came which was called Library Party. Under Saswarup's guidance, the party crisscrossed the United States, selling dozens of standing orders each week to university libraries, including those of Yale, Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, and Stanford. Within a few months, professors began writing favorable reviews, and many ordered Prabhupada books for their college courses. After placing complete sets of books in the majority of American and Canadian libraries, the BBT party shifted its operations to Europe and India, meeting with the same success. So thus, somebody plays books here in IIT Bombay also. And when Madhu Pandit Prabhu was here, he was also going through the library aisles every day, picking up some books. He was very, very fond of understanding what is the meaning of this world. Rather, he was not telling that he was fond of is very, very diluted word. He was actually in existential crisis, is the word Prabhu uses. He was so desperate to understand what is the meaning of this world, why we are living. And he thought physics would give the solution. It would give answers. But physics had no solutions. Then he went to philosophy, Western philosophers, no solution, Indian philosophers. And then when he would read all these books of physics or philosophy, and just to read the books, Prabhu, he got engineering physics. He got direct call from IIT. He need not write any exam that time in the late 70s. And then he got top branch of that time, engineering physics. But there was rigorous competition. All 9-pointers were there. And then Prabhu told it was difficult to read physics because you have to work hard to score marks. So just to read physics, he left the branch physics so that he can take out time, and rather than mugging up the things just to write the physics formula and solve numericals, he can actually dive deep into the realities provided by physics. So he left physics to understand physics. But then physics also could not give answers. And then when he would pick up all these books, he would come across Prabhupada's very nice, colorful books also. And he thought these are mere stories. So then it so happened, Prabhu understood that finally nobody knows any answers. So anyway, this world is huge, big. How does it matter I live or die in this universe? What am I contributing? And in this existential crisis situation, he thought, let me now commit suicide, leave this body. Everybody is busy in their own affairs. These affairs anywhere have no purpose. Any sensible man will make out material activity actually has no purpose. It just puts a living entity in more and more harassment. So when he decided, I want to leave my body, and one more friend was there with Prabhu, both were in such crisis, and they went to top of the tallest building in the institute, and they thought, so now I would jump from here. And when they thought finally, they went there to jump, they became very relaxed because there was no tension anyway. Nobody knows the answer, need not bother ourselves with the answer. So they became very relaxed. So they thought, anyway, we have to die. So why die today? We'll die tomorrow. Let us spend some time. So then, but anyway, he got used to it, visiting library for 3-4 years. And just to continue visiting the library, he extended his BTech, continued MTech also. So he continued visiting the library, and even though suicide was fixed, anyway, we have to do, let us read something light. Anyway, nobody knows philosophy, physics, everything. Nobody knows truth. So finally, then he thought, let us read something light today. Let us read stories. So the same books which Prabhu had rejected before, he picked out, Krishna book. Let us read some stories today. And then he opened a chapter. The chapter was Prayers of Personified Vedas. That is most difficult chapter in Krishna book. Is not very difficult, but this chapter is very difficult, very high philosophy. Prayers of Personified, that is a book in itself, Prayers of Personified Vedas. And when Prabhu started reading that, his eyes welled up in tears, because whatever he had thought about the purpose of this world, the understanding about God, all those things exactly were mentioned over there. So just like a person who is very hungry, when he eats food, he gets so much of satisfaction. In a similar fashion, all the questions, what he thought, it was exactly being explained here. And then he realized, my search is now complete. Now I've found answers. So just imagine the power of book distribution. Some devotee, some Western devotee, Indians were not there at that time. So they came to India in an institute, they placed the book. And one devotee, after a long time, he picked it up, and then he would read it. And then he was among the first few people who joined from India, the movement. And now we see so much contribution is there to the world in spreading Krishna consciousness. So one book can touch one such sincere soul and anything can happen. So thus we can see simply the books can change a person like anything. So Prabhupada always was understanding this library book distribution is also very important. So 3 parties for regular book distribution and then this library book distribution party. So they were dropping just like armies drop bombs. They were dropping these big books everywhere across the world. Dr. Alex Wayman, professor of Sanskrit at Columbia University, wrote, "It has been my great pleasure recently to have read the Srimad Bhagavatam in the superb edition authorized by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The consummate care and devotion to the Sanskrit word and its precious meaning are evident on every page. I am sure this monumental work will go far to bring the sublime message of Bhagavatam to numerous Westerners who would otherwise miss this opportunity. By steadfastly distributing Srila Prabhupada books, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement were experiencing the essence of loving service to Krishna in separation, which is the highest spiritual ecstasy. So devotees were feeling highest spiritual ecstasy. Why everybody would go day in and day out for this activity? Earlier there were not many activities, just devotees would do morning sadhana, 4:15 till around 8:30. They would have their breakfast, and then 9 o'clock, 9:30 they're out, only to come back by the evening. So many hours, minimum 9-10 hours out every day on the field. So it is not an easy job, but devotees were doing. What was driving them so much for this activity? Because they were experiencing the essence of loving devotional service to Krishna, which is the highest spiritual ecstasy. Don't try to see God, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master had often said, but act in such a way that God sees you. In other words, by submissively acting on the order of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, Prabhupada's disciples were sure to attract Krishna's loving attention. So seeing God may not actually help you to have realization of God, because we being conditioned, even if God comes before us, we would just perceive God as another material entity, just like everyone perceived. When Krishna was present, he was manifest 5,000 years ago. Duryodhana perceived Krishna, so many other people, Jarasandha perceived Krishna, but they remained demons and enemies of Krishna. They could not derive any spiritual pleasure by seeing Krishna. But if Krishna becomes merciful with somebody, then they are able to realize the spiritual nature of Krishna. So what we have to do is not try to see Krishna artificially now. Just like a diseased person artificially, if he tries to take taste in food by imagining, oh, this food is so tasty or XYZ, it is not possible to have. Just like people tell affirmations, I am happy, I am full of joy, and you repeat like that, it will never happen. So you actually have to come to the platform of realizing that we are eternal servants of Krishna. So for this realization, one has to attract the mercy of Krishna. And which is the quickest way to attract mercy of Krishna? Prabhupada explains. The quickest way to catch Krishna's attention, Srila Prabhupada said, was to direct another person to Krishna consciousness. So I repeat, the quickest way to catch Krishna's attention, entire spiritual process is to act in such a way that you are able to attract Krishna's attention. And the quickest way to attract Krishna's attention is to direct another person to Krishna consciousness. So if you are able to attract anybody to Krishna consciousness, that is the easiest way, quickest way to attract Krishna's attention. So we should always remember this thing and try to attract as many people as possible towards Krishna consciousness. In that way, we'll be able to attract Krishna towards us. The book distributors therefore felt a special reciprocation with their spiritual master, and this impelled them to go on serving and distributing. Sanjay. Philosophically, we saw that going out and distributing books was what our spiritual master wanted us to do. We knew that. That was clear to us. We also had a real sense of idealism that these books and magazines would change the world. Once you come to Krishna consciousness, you actually see how crummy the world really is, how really contaminated things are, how envious people are, and how horrible material life is. You can see that. You don't feel that you yourself can change it, but you feel that whoever gets one of Prabhupada's books and looks at it will be changed in a spiritual way. There was no question about it. We also felt a big change would come in the world in the future as Krishna consciousness spread. Prabhupada also said that if people just touch one of these books, their lives will change just by touching. So these books are so potent. Actually, these books are incarnation of Krishna. So just like Krishna comes in the form of his holy name or in the deity form, similarly Krishna incarnates in the form of books. So Prabhupada explains, simply by touching, if somebody is not able to purchase, we request them kindly read any one page, one line at least. Even if they simply touch, their spiritual life starts. Our faith was in the books and Srila Prabhupada. Keshav Bharati says, when you pass out a book, there is a certain reciprocation from Prabhupada. So as soon as you eat something tasty, immediately you feel, yes, your body is reciprocating. You get pleasure. Some chemicals are secreted in the brain and you feel very happy. So you continue eating delicious food. Immediately there is a response from the body, from the palate. In a similar fashion, when devotees were engaging in such rigorous activity of book distribution, they were experiencing reciprocation from Prabhupada and Krishna. Thus, just to attain that spiritual pleasure, continue that, they would continue on this activity day after day. There was a dramatic difference in our internal experience when a person would take a book compared to taking just some incense or something. So is it some kind of other selling activity? So they tried selling incense also. They would, because many people wanted. But when a person takes book, the feeling was totally different from a person taking incense. We would actually experience Prabhupada's association all day by distributing those books. We did not feel left out just because certain devotees were physically closer to Prabhupada. Book distributors always got strong enlivenment. We would read about Haridas Thakur going out and rolling on the ground and begging people to chant. This is what Haridas Thakur did, who is Lord Brahma himself, the creator of entire universe. He incarnated as Haridas Thakur. Why? Because Brahma told to Lord Krishna that I am in such a position, topmost position in material universe, so I will become puffed up. And pride is the enemy of spiritual life. If I criticize others, find fault in others, that is our enemy. So devotee has to be very cautious. Thus devotees don't want to accept any leading position unless it is requirement in the movement. So that is very, very not liked job by the devotees to accept this position, because pride can come in the heart. So Brahma also was very cautious and he told, please give me birth, a low birth in a lower family, so that I may become humble. So thus he took such a birth in not very respectable family, not even in a family which was following the Varnashrama Dharma. And he was considered untouchable. He was never allowed entry in Jagannath Puri temple. He always stayed outside. And Haridas Thakur, who was liberated chanting 24 hours Hare Krishna Mahamantra, such an exalted personality, pure devotee of Krishna, who defeated Maya herself. Maya Devi came and took initiation from Haridas Thakur, who was so powerful without speaking any word describing Krishna, simply by his chanting. He was able to elevate a prostitute to same platform of chanting 24 hours. Such Haridas Thakur, how he would preach. He would fall on the ground, roll and beg at the feet of the people to please chant the names of Krishna. So devotees would read these pastimes, they would get inspired and they were able to actually perceive the reciprocation from such personalities. And thus they were going out every day for book distribution. So all these spiritual perceptions were felt by the devotees. That is what kept them driving for this activity. Vaisheshika recollects, we used to think how Prabhupada was spending so much time behind a dictating machine just writing these books. We would meditate on how he would sleep just a few hours a day and minimize everything else to write these books. So we were also trying to cut down our other activities and just go out and distribute books. Prabhupada said a devotee should be in the mood of 6 Goswamis. So we were singing those prayers every day. We felt a real connection. Even in the beginning, a devotee told me, where is Prabhupada, do you know? And then he said, he is in his books. That mood was always there. We always felt that connection. Jagat Datri Devi Dasi recollects, when I was distributing Prabhupada's books, I understood that was the most pleasing thing I could do for him. I was helping him to fulfill his spiritual master's instructions, and so he was pleased. And he was even more pleased if I did it nicely. I always used to hear the story of how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would be happy if someone went out and distributed even one magazine. Because it's actually the mood of Sankirtan, of going out and trying to give mercy to the conditioned souls, that counts. I always wanted to do welfare work. I like the feeling of doing something for people. So there's a summum bonum of helping people. Summum bonum means the ultimate good, the best thing. You are helping them to go back to Godhead. So that was my motivation. And we automatically become purified by bringing other living entities to Krishna. Lavang Latika Devi Dasi. Having heard Srila Prabhupada speak and knowing that he was always reading from these books, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that he was preaching that you have to distribute this knowledge to others, made it all very simple. That is, you just knew that this was Srila Prabhupada's desire. He was always telling us that, he was giving us this knowledge, and that once you have this knowledge, you have to distribute it to others. Srila Prabhupada came to America to preach with his disciples, so we must do it because it's Prabhupada's desire. He spent so much time translating these books to be distributed. You just want to distribute to others and you want people to have these books in their homes. So thus we can see the realization of the devotees. I may not get very special interest in such activities, but some devotees, they just do such activities sacrificing everything. So what are these spiritual perceptions? Let us also become very eager to experience it. So this is another very important pastime. This is April 20, 1975. What was happening around this time? March, April is Gaur Purnima, Ram Navami. We remember 1975, finally Srila Prabhupada inaugurated the Vrindavan temple, Krishna Balram temple. Srila Prabhupada installed the deities for grand opening of the Krishna Balram Mandir, and the governor, he was the chief guest. And Srila Prabhupada offered the opening arati, and standing at the altar itself, Prabhupada addressed all the crowd and the congregation members. While still standing at the altar after having offered the first arati to Krishna and Balram, Prabhupada addressed the crowd, explaining that this was an international temple where people from all over the world would come to worship and take shelter of Gaur Nitai, Krishna Balram and Radha Krishna. Later that evening, Prabhupada sat in his room with a few GBC men. The buttons on his kurta open because of the heat, his legs and bare feet extended under the low table. He relaxed, and his men sat close around him in the dim light of the desk lamp. It was a milestone, he said, but still they had to go forward, not merely savor their success. Many things were still required to make the temple and guest house operative. Srila Prabhupada was thinking beyond Vrindavan. This temple construction is so important, he said, that I am willing to spend many lakhs to open a temple like this. So these projects, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Bombay, were so close to Prabhupada. Prabhupada fought so much, we have seen in our sessions. And Prabhupada told, I can spend lakhs of rupees just to have a temple like this. These are so important to spread Krishna consciousness. And it is a milestone. Prabhupada has achieved something very big, substantial. And Prabhupada is relaxed, and in such a scene, all the discussion should be around that activity. But Prabhupada speaks of something else here. He said that I am willing to spend many lakhs to open a temple like this, and yet, as important as it is, the book distribution is even more important. So Prabhupada did not undermine, did not forget to explain, rather he explained book distribution is even more important. So Prabhupada wanted to be very clear. This, you see, has been activity of such a great importance. All the great leaders, important men were put to such project. But still, book distribution is more important than such activity also. This was a significant reaffirmation of the priority of book distribution. Even while in the midst of this splendid temple opening, he was stressing that book production was more important. Srila Prabhupada, however, was displeased because even though he was working very hard, and we see how much struggle was there for Prabhupada, his health was not so good, and so much of struggle was there for the Bombay temple, and the leaders were sometimes leaving the movement, facing many challenges. So it was very difficult phase for Prabhupada. But in this phase, Prabhupada had finished all 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think barely in around 18 months Prabhupada finished. So how Prabhupada would manage? He would get up at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. And every night, 3 hours, Prabhupada would sacrifice his sleep to write the books. In this way, Prabhupada was able to finish. But then they were not being published. So 17 books, Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is after Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the real sweet nectarian essence of Krishna consciousness. What is the life of a person when he actually becomes a pure devotee of Krishna? We want to know, just like we read when a person becomes successful, he becomes chairman or CEO of a big company, materialists want to read about them. Similarly, we wish to read about what is the life of a person who is successful in devotional service, liberated souls. Those activities are in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Prabhupada was eager, but they were not able to publish books. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, all 3 volumes Prabhupada had written, only first volume had been published. So many of books, around 20 books lying unpublished, this was not pleasing Prabhupada. One of the devotees present, not understanding Prabhupada's point, remarked that since Prabhupada was going next to Hawaii, he would be able to write there in peace and quiet. Prabhupada replied that he was not encouraged to write when his manuscripts were not being published. So BBT Press, it was there in New York. Now they thought it should shift to Los Angeles, where Rameshwar Prabhu, the supervisor of entire book distribution, would be there personally so that he can quickly drive this process. Radha Vallabh would be production manager and Rameshwar, the BBT supervisor, would be able to more closely oversee the press operations. Rameshwar, unaware of the delay in publishing Chaitanya Charitamrita manuscript, learned of it now in Vrindavan. He promised Prabhupada that he would immediately get the press set up in Los Angeles and begin producing Chaitanya Charitamrita. On arriving in Los Angeles, from Vrindavan, Prabhupada in a couple of months, in June, went to Los Angeles. Received a joyous welcome. He was accompanied by leading sannyasis, the GBC secretaries, including Kirtanand Swami, Vishnujan Swami, Brahmanand Swami, Tamal Krishna Goswami, and other leaders. Later, sitting in his room, one of his favorites in all of ISKCON, he spoke only briefly about the backlog of unprinted books. He seemed mildly disturbed but little sad. He was very pleased, however, to see the temple and the deities of Rukmani Dwarkadish. In his short arrival speech, he had explained why he was so urgently pressing his disciples to produce his books. I have no personal qualification, he had said from the plushy upholstered Vyasasan, but I simply try to satisfy my Guru, that's all. My Guru Maharaj asked me that if you get some money, you print books. So there was a private meeting, that talking. Some of my important god brothers also were there. It was in Radhakund. So Guru Maharaj was speaking to me that since we have got this, so Prabhupada's spiritual master, he was there with Srila Prabhupada and some of his other disciples, senior disciples. And he confided into Prabhupada that I have made this temple and unfortunately some of the devotees, they are fighting. I want this room and that room. So I wish to sell this temple, take out all the marble and sell it out so that I can publish books with that money. So if you ever get money, you please publish books. So Prabhupada told many times disciples would ask, what is your qualification? What is somebody's qualification that he's so nicely blessed by Krishna? So Prabhupada told, I have no qualification. But simply I am trying to carry out the order of my Guru. And because of the pleasure of my Guru Maharaj, things are happening through us. So just like a mic does not take any credit, should not take any credit for any good speech delivered. Mic is simply transferring the information. Similarly, a devotee, when he becomes pure, he simply becomes an instrument in the hands of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is expressing that thing, that I have no qualification, but I am simply trying to carry out the order of my Guru Maharaj. So thus Prabhupada told, it is my specific order, that is my life and soul. So please help me in doing this. Therefore, I am stressing this point, where is book, where is book? So kindly help me. This is my request. Prabhupada is helping, that you please help me to fulfill the instruction which my spiritual master gave to me. Print as many books as possible in as many languages and distribute throughout the whole world. Then Krishna consciousness movement will automatically increase. Next morning, while walking on the Venice beach, Srila Prabhupada delivered an extraordinary ultimatum. Surrounded by devotees, he walked along, poking the sand softly with his cane. These 17 volumes unpublished, he began, are great problem for our movement. Yes, Prabhupada, Rameshwar responded. Who is Rameshwar? The BBT supervisor. Attentive and concerned. The other devotees also nodded, commiserating. Something must be done. Yes, Prabhupada continued. They must be published immediately. Yes, Prabhupada, Rameshwar replied obediently. So I think they can be printed in 2 months, Srila Prabhupada said conclusively. Rameshwar wasn't sure he had heard correctly. The press had only just opened, the artists didn't even have lights in their rooms. 2 months was illogical, impossible. Now was the moment to tell Srila Prabhupada the plan for increased production. So Rameshwar stepped closer. Srila Prabhupada, he began, that we have been discussing about this thing and our production has been very slow. So now that a new press has been set up in Los Angeles, we will be able to make production 4 times faster. Can you imagine? 4 times faster. So he told, now Prabhupada, we will be able to produce one book every month. So earlier one book was coming out in 4 months. So he thought he would please Prabhupada by giving him the news. Now we will be 4 times more efficient and every month book will come out. One book every month, Srila Prabhupada said, as if thinking out loud and considering it. That means over 1 year, 17 months it would take to publish 17 volumes. It is not fast enough. The other devotees looked over at Rameshwar and Radha Vallabh, who glanced at each other. That we have so much increased the efficiency 4 times, and Prabhupada is telling that's not enough. You have to do all the books in 2 months' time. Srila Prabhupada said again. They had clearly heard it this time, and the two managers were stunned in disbelief. So if somebody tells you to make it how many times faster? 4 into what is that? 17. So that comes to how much? 64, if I'm not wrong. So if somebody tells you to make it 64 times faster, so it is so tough. It is almost impossible. So Prabhupada is telling what work is supposed to happen in 17 months, you have to finish it in 2 months. Srila Prabhupada, Rameshwar said, I think that's impossible. Maybe we can go faster. Srila Prabhupada suddenly stopped walking. Planting his cane firmly in the sand, he turned to Rameshwar and said, without anger, but very gravely, impossible is a word found in the fool's dictionary. Suddenly Rameshwar realized his spiritual life was on the line. To say impossible now would mean that he had no faith in Krishna's representative, no faith in the power of God. He must throw away his material estimations and rational common sense. While Rameshwar and Radha Vallabh stood speechless, Srila Prabhupada resumed walking, accompanied by the others. The two devotees hurried to catch up, but now everyone looked at them as if to say, come on, stop doubting, you have to do it. Rameshwar asked Srila Prabhupada if he could discuss this with other devotees at the press and then report back. Oh yes, Prabhupada replied, whatever is required. Rameshwar, Radha Vallabh, they dropped back from the morning walk, while Srila Prabhupada and others continued down the beach. So then Mangalarti was there, and then Prabhupada would go for morning walk. Prabhupada would come back, they would have Darshanarti and Bhagavatam class, and they would chant some rounds. So even though they were doing the morning program, chanting their rounds, trying to hear Prabhupada's Bhagavatam class with attention, they were not able to do it. Their mind, the book distribution was spinning. 2 months, 2 months, 2 months. How to finish 60, 70 times we had to speeden up the process. And by the time they met with the press workers, they had become convinced it could be done. It was as if some mystical power was going to descend. Somehow or other it could be done. So they presented the plan and convinced the other workers. It can be done, Rameshwar said later, talking with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada replied. But there were some conditions, Rameshwar said. For the Bengali editing to go on smoothly, the editors would have to be able to regularly consult Srila Prabhupada. Immediately Prabhupada agreed, adding that he was prepared to stay in Los Angeles as long as necessary to ensure that they met the 2-month deadline. Another condition Rameshwar raised was that the artist would be working as quickly as humanly possible, but the paintings might not be of best quality. A blind uncle is better than no uncle, Prabhupada said. When Rameshwar mentioned that the artist would have many technical questions, Prabhupada agreed to make time to answer them. He also agreed that photographs of Indian holy places connected with Chaitanya Leela could be used to supplement the paintings. After their meeting with Srila Prabhupada, Rameshwar and Radha Vallabh felt that they had a chance. They left Srila Prabhupada's room running down the stairs. The marathon was on. So it is something very extraordinary, and they were so much faithful and attached to Srila Prabhupada, they could conceive of such things. And this marathon was extremely rigorous. Practically, they were working entire day, working almost for 18 hours, 20 hours for 2 months without any sleep. So we'll just discuss how wonderfully, how rigorously they worked very, very hard. And they were able to finish the project in deadline. So these are some of the very nice experiences by which we get a glimpse of the real spiritual activity, which is not just some armchair philosophy that you think philosophizing what is Krishna, what is God. God is realized by sacrificing one's energy. So this energy is sacrificed for material pleasures, gives material rasa. If sacrifice for Krishna gives spiritual rasa, but sacrifice of energy is required. So by practically sacrificing one's energy for Krishna, one realizes Krishna. So more of such pastimes, we will try to finish this book distribution Leela tomorrow. So please do not miss tomorrow's session also. Thank you so much for watching today. Tomorrow we'll be releasing the trailer of the short film on Srila Prabhupada, The Empowered Acharya. So please try to watch it and try to share it so that people can get attached to Prabhupada watching his pastimes. Thank you so much for hearing. Please do mention your realizations in the comments. Try to like the video and share so that we can share this message with many people. Thank you so much for hearing. We'll meet tomorrow again. Hare Krishna.